What is the difference between opossums and possums? Naming and classification are very important aspects of studying animals, with most known species having Latin or Greek scientific names and more common and pronounceable names to set them apart. However, confusion still pops up occasionally, like in the case of today's subjects, possums and opossums. So what's the story with these critters? Are they even separate animals? And if they are, what are the differences between them? Let's find out. Opossums. Kicking things off with opossums, it's important to note that these little guys are not rodents, despite a few very rodent-like traits. Instead, opossums are marsupials from the Didelphimorphia order and Didelphidae family. Collectively, there are 18 genus groupings and a total of 126 species. Didelphis is the largest genus by number of animals, while the Virginia opossum, Didelphis virginiana, is the most common species. When most people hear the word marsupial, they immediately think of Australia or New Guinea. However, opossums break the down under rule because they are native to the Americas, from north to south. The term opossum comes from opossum, a word in the language of the Powhatan people, a Native American group that lived throughout what we call Virginia today. The rough translation of the word includes dog-like beast and white dog. The order name Didelphimorphia comes from the amalgamation of di, which means two, and delphis, which means womb. That's right. Unlike most mammals, which have a single womb and uterus, female opossums have two. Like most other marsupials, they also sport pouches for carrying their babies to and fro. As a whole, opossums have been around for a fairly long time. Fossil evidence shows true didelphimorphs showed up during the early Miocene, around 20 million years ago. Their most recent common ancestor died out 3 million years earlier during the Oligocene-Miocene boundary. The general consensus among paleontologists is that didelphimorphs first appeared in South America's Amazonia region. They were highly successful during these early days and eventually diversified greatly. Most developed into omnivores, but a few also became specialized carnivores because the region was fairly short on predators then. The lack of predators allowed several opossum species, especially of the Didelphis genus, to grow in size. Today, opossums are largely omnivorous, with all but a tiny handful of carnivorous species having gone extinct. The otter-like lutrine opossums are prime examples of didelphimorphs that live exclusively on meat. But generally, opossums are opportunistic omnivores. Everything from fruits, roots, grass, and leaves to insects, rodents, bird eggs, and your garbage is on the menu for these guys, and their pursuit of food is relentless. An opossum can eat up to 20% of its weight in food in a single day. And as far as size, opossums are quite varied. The smaller species are similar to rats, while the bigger ones, like the Virginia opossum, are as big as large house cats. These animals have a fair degree of sexual dimorphism, with males being a little larger than females. Facially, opossums are not going to win any beauty contests. With their long snouts and wild, countless teeth, they more than justify early European explorers' descriptions of a cat-sized beast with the head of a swine. In reality, opossums have 50 teeth, 26 at the top and 24 at the bottom. The canines are the most prominent teeth, and males have slightly larger fangs than females. The back of the jaw is lined with tricuspid molars for chewing. Opossums move around on all fours most of the time. Their front feet have 4 clawed toes each, while each hind foot has an additional opposable thumb-like toe. They also have fairly long tails, and juveniles of some species can even use these tails for gripping branches while climbing. In some cases, opossums can also use their tails to carry objects like nest-building materials. These feet and tails afford opossums a great deal of versatility when it comes to movement. They are as comfortable in trees as they are on the ground, or even below it. This ability to climb trees and hide underground is probably why the opossums we have today are still alive. Large ground-based opossums were likely wiped out by the mass introduction of predators into South America. Opossums also have a lot of interesting things going on when it comes to reproduction. Females have bifurcated vaginas and wombs, while males have equally bifurcated penises. Mating occurs during a female's 28-day estrus window, and about a fortnight after conception, a litter of up to 20 joeys pops out. That's right. Much like kangaroos and similar marsupials, baby opossums are called joeys, and much like other newborn marsupials, they are wholly dependent on mom's pouch. The pouch, which is officially known as a marsupium, provides shelter and access to the mother's teats. Unfortunately, a female opossum only has 13 teats. That means immediately after birth, joeys face a do-or-die fight to find their way to the marsupium and the precious milk. Many fail in this quest and die before their lives even begin. After independence and outside breeding windows, most of an opossum's life is spent alone in search of resources. They are neither strictly territorial nor migratory, opting for a flexible nomadic lifestyle that largely depends on access to food and water. They live in different kinds of nests or burrows and can build their own abode or take over someone else's. These critters are largely nocturnal, and they have adapted a bunch of super senses to navigate the dark. One of the opossum's most iconic traits is the tendency to play dead, or play possum. This behavior is complete with peeled back lips and the foul smell of death linking from the animal's anal glands. It turns out that opossums don't do this on purpose, and that this behavior is actually a form of fainting. They usually get back up within 4 hours if they aren't eaten in the meantime. Another interesting thing about these little guys is their fairly short lifespans. Opossums typically last 2 years in the wild and 4 in captivity, which is odd for animals of their sizes. Possums. Next up we have possums. This term is often used to refer to opossums of the Americas, which is a big part of the confusion. The phrase playing possum, for example, is one of the wrongful ways the two animal groups are classified in casual everyday society. And just to reiterate, possums are a wholly different animal group from opossums, despite being named for their resemblance to the American marsupials. For starters, possums come from the Diprotodontia order and the Phalangeriformes suborder, which means they are not didelphimorphs in any way. The females have single wombs, and neither males nor females have any notable bifurcations. The only taxonomic tie between possums and opossums is at the infraclass level. Like opossums, possums are marsupials, complete with joeys and pouches. Secondly, possums are from Australasia, not the Americas. They are found in various parts of Australia, New Guinea, and the Indonesian island of Sulawesi. This geographic distribution, combined with DNA analysis, proves that possums are more closely related to wallabies, wombats, and koalas than opossums. There are around 70 known possum species across several families and genera. Most species feature possum in the common name, but a few are called cuscus or gliders. Another key difference is that possums are more settled in and suited to life in the trees. They're almost exclusively arboreal, but they do frequent the ground from time to time. Because of this tree-based life, they tend to be smaller than opossums. The smallest possums, like the quarter-ounce Tasmanian pygmy possum, Cercartetus lepidus, are the smallest marsupials on Earth. However, some possums are pretty big as well, and some are even larger than the biggest opossum species. The bear cuscus, Ailurops ursinus, which can grow to 15 pounds, is one such example. Naturally, these tree lovers tend to stick to wooded areas. From dense tropical jungles to more open woods, possums find a way to survive and thrive. Unlike opossums, possums are far less likely to settle away from the trees. The woods provide most of what a possum would hope to eat. Some species are exclusive herbivores, while others are omnivorous or exclusively insectivorous. A select few also feed on nectar and honey. Of course, with constant human encroachment, some possums have adapted to life around and within human settlements. Many descendants of tree-climbing possums are now using their skills to navigate tall apartment buildings, traffic, raging guard dogs, and an overall drastic change to their natural environment. These animals are equipped with fantastic senses of sight, smell, and hearing, which makes them perfectly suited to their nocturnal lifestyles. They sleep during the day because the sun can be too bright for them, and they can be pretty vulnerable to daytime predators like birds of prey. While the resemblance to opossums is strong in some species, possums are generally quite different. Their faces are more rounded, and their snouts are not as long or pointed. Their tails tend to be thick and covered in fur, while opossum tails are pretty much hairless in most cases. Furthermore, while still useful for balance, possum tails are not as prehensile and capable of gripping as opossum tails. In most normal circumstances, You can identify possums by looking at their hair. They have fluffy fur that comes in a wide range of colors and patterns depending on the species. Opossums, in contrast, have a rougher and wilder-looking fur that seldom deviates from grays, whites, and blacks. Interestingly, true possums don't play possum like opossums do, further proof that the phrase should be changed to playing opossum. Instead, possums run away when threatened. If concerned, they may hiss, growl, or even bite. These animals also employ a vastly different reproductive strategy than opossums. Instead of giving birth to 20 to 25 young ones, female possums typically have one baby at a time. Like most marsupials, these joeys are born fairly early and finish up their development in mom's pouch. As the joey grows and gains strength, it learns to hold on to its mother's back as they move together in search of food and safety. Again, outside pre-independence family time and breeding, possums are largely solitary creatures that live in nests, tree holes, and burrows. Like opossums, possums can be a nuisance or even pests for some people. Fruit farmers, for instance, are not the biggest fans of the frugivorous species and their pesky nibbling. They can also carry and spread disease to pets or livestock, which isn't great either. But possums get it way worse than they give it. They have been hunted for generations for food and pelts, and great swaths of their natural habitat are under constant threat from human expansion.